Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to Books and More. We are so glad you have chosen to spend these moments with us. At Books and More, our mission is to distill the original essence and key insights from the world's most profound books. We want to help you save precious time while ensuring that the core values and transformative messages of these works stay fully intact to touch your heart and mind. Sometimes life feels like a heavy burden, and we get so caught up in the seriousness of our daily struggles that we forget how to breathe and how to dance. We often search for meaning in the distance, yet we overlook the vibrant pulse of the present. Today, we are stepping into a world of pure consciousness and joy with Osho's masterpiece, Life, Love, Laughter. This book is not just a collection of words, it is a radiant invitation to celebrate your very existence. As we dive into these reflections, I invite you to consider a few questions. Is it possible that laughter is actually the most sacred form of prayer we can offer? Why do we often choose the safety of a serious mind over the beautiful risk of a loving heart? And what if the meaning of life isn't something to be discovered, but something you create with every breath you take? Please know, dear friend, that if you are feeling weary or lost, you are not alone. We are here to walk beside you on this path of self-discovery. Let these insights be a gentle balm for your soul, reminding you that your joy is your birthright and your sensitivity is a great strength. I wish you a day filled with light and a heart full of peace. Let us now begin this soulful journey together into life, love, laughter. Celebrating your existence. I believe that seriousness is a profound disease of the human soul. It acts like a cancer, quietly draining the vitality and joy from our lives until we are left as mere shells of our potential. Most people have been taught that to be serious is to be mature or meaningful, but this is a deep misunderstanding. In my view, seriousness is a burden that keeps us tethered to the ground, while life is meant to be a soaring flight into the infinite. It is only through love, laughter, and an immense sense of joy that we can truly begin to feel the presence of the divine. When life ceases to be a chore and instead becomes a grand adventure, a magnificent dance of ecstasy, we find ourselves moving beyond the limitations of the body and the mind. If you can learn to love and laugh totally with your entire heart and being, your life will transform into a state of pure bliss. This transformation is not just for your own sake. It makes you a blessing for everyone you encounter and a light for the whole world. You must realize that life does not come with a pre-packaged meaning. By itself, life is essentially a blank canvas. You can carry that empty canvas your whole life and die under its weight, or you can choose to paint something beautiful upon it. Meaning is something that must be created. You are provided with all the essential materials, freedom, creativity, and life itself, but the act of creating significance is entirely up to you. Whether you become a song of the eternal, a blooming lotus of timelessness, or a fragrance of the divine depends on your willingness to participate in this creative process. When you step into your power as a creator, you are no longer a passive observer of existence. You begin to participate with the ultimate source, becoming an integral part of the divine flow. This is the goal of our journey, to celebrate our existence so fully that the line between the dancer and the dance completely disappears. Love and laughter are the keys that open the doors to this higher reality, allowing us to live a life that is not just a sequence of days, but a continuous celebration. Part 1. The Mystery of Eternal Existence. I am often asked why life is so mysterious, and my answer is always the same. It just is. Life is a fact, not a theory. I do not say that life is a mystery as a matter of philosophy, because if it were a theory, you could ask why. It is simply a reality. Trees are green because they are green. There is no why to it. If we could answer the why of existence, life would cease to be a mystery and would instead become a problem to be solved. A problem is something that can be explained and discarded, but a mystery is that which cannot be solved. This is the beauty of it. If life were not a mystery and someone could finally explain it to you, there would be nothing left to do but commit suicide. I tell you, do not try to understand life with your intellect. If you try to understand a woman, you will end up in a mess. Life is much the same. Forget the intellect and forget the theories. Just live it, and in that living, a different kind of understanding will arise. This understanding will not be through words, it will be a total experience. You can know what life is, but you can never say what it is. The more you live it, the more beautiful it becomes, and you eventually reach a moment where you flow with it entirely. In that flow, you realize there is no beginning and no end. We are part of an eternal process. People try to mark a starting point for life, perhaps a few thousand years ago, but how can you have a Monday without a Sunday preceding it? How can you have a morning without a night that came before? You cannot draw a line in the sand and say life began here, because for anything to begin, something must have already existed to set it in motion. Life simply is. It has always been, and it will always be. Do not waste your time thinking about it. Use that energy to live it. Life is not a thing you can grasp. It is a process. It is not waiting for you in the future or at the end of a long journey to the Himalayas. It is happening right now, in this very moment, within your breath, your heartbeats, and the circulation of your blood. If you start looking for meaning in dogmas or scriptures, you will surely miss the reality that is already here. People have been doing this for centuries, looking for explanations and ignoring the actual. I want you to know that no guru can give you the meaning of your life. Your life is yours, and therefore the meaning must be yours as well. A master can only throw you back upon yourself, for the temple of life is not outside, you are its shrine. To truly understand living, you must understand dying, because death is not the end of life. We are taught to fear death as an enemy, but death is an organic, integral part of the living process. They are two poles of the same energy, like inhalation and exhalation. You cannot breathe in if you refuse to breathe out. In the same way, you cannot truly live if you are afraid to die. Life exists because of death. Death provides the context for life to renew itself. It is a constant process of resurrection. Every moment you die to the past, and every moment you are born again into the future. It is the ego that fears death, not life. Life cannot fear its own nature. The ego is like the dust that settles on a traveler's clothes. It is something that accumulates over time through experience and knowledge. If you do not bathe and wash away that dust, it becomes a prison. People who protect themselves against death are people who have become incapable of living. They are stuck, dragging themselves along because they are afraid to let go. But if you are ready to die every moment, you become fresh and young again. This is the only way to live fully and totally. This is also why so many people are afraid of love. Love is a peak of life, and at that peak, death is also present. When you truly love someone, your ego begins to melt and disappear. You cannot love with your ego, it is a barrier. When the ego begins to slip away, it feels like death, and you become afraid. But the death of the ego is the beginning of your real capacity to live. Love, meditation, and prayer are all experiences where life becomes total, and whenever life is total, death is there. They are never separate. Existence is an undivided flow. You were a child, then a youth, then an adult, and one day you will be old. You cannot draw a line between these stages and say exactly when one ended and the other began. It is a process without boundaries. We have been here since the beginning, and we will be here until the end, because we are part of the eternal. We are life itself. Our bodies and minds may change, but that which is transcendental within us remains. When you realize this, you understand that death is just a way of moving out of an old form, an old concept, or an old house. It is a renewal that allows you to flow again, fresh and innocent. The only real sadness in life is not knowing who you are. People are so identified with their forms and their egos that they live in constant fear. They act like professors of language, living in words and theories while life passes them by. But reality does not need language. It is available to you in silence. If you can learn to communicate with existence without words, you will find that the moon does not need a reflection in a bowl of water to be seen. You have been given eyes to see it directly. Do not borrow knowledge from anyone else. What I know may be my truth, but the moment I tell it to you, it becomes mere information to you. It is no longer truth. Truth must be experienced by you, in your own life, through your own living. Only then is it real. Only then does it become a blessing that transforms your existence into a celebration. Part 2. The Art of Living in the Present. Death has already happened. Whether you face it or not, whether you look at it or not, it is already there. It is just like the act of breathing. When a child is born, it inhales for the first time, and that is the beginning of living. When that same person grows old and eventually passes away, the last thing they do is exhale. But inhalation and exhalation are happening continuously throughout your entire existence. With every single breath you take in, you are born again, and with every breath you release, you die. Therefore, the first thing we must understand is that death is not some event waiting for us in the distant future. It is a part of life itself, a process that is ongoing right here and now. Life and death are simply two sides of existence, occurring simultaneously. Ordinarily, you've been taught to think of death as being against life, but death is not the enemy. It is a friend. Life is impossible without death. They are like two wings of a bird. A bird cannot fly with only one wing, and your being cannot exist without both life and death. The mind always tries to avoid the things it cannot understand, and death is one of the most misunderstood mysteries. Because of fear, we push death away into the future, and this creates a constant state of anxiety. We hang in a state of limbo, wondering whether we will live or die. But once it becomes certain to you that death is happening every moment, a deep relaxation and silence come to your being. If you can die to the past in total relaxation every moment, the quality of your birth changes. You become fresh, young, and innocent. You must learn to drop the past as it happens. Do not allow it to interfere with your present. The moment you have passed through an experience, let it go. Do not let it become a psychological burden that clouds your vision. When you go home and look at your spouse through the lens of all your past arguments and experiences, you are not truly seeing the person standing before you. You are seeing a ghost. Factual memory is useful for practical things, but psychological memory is a prison. When you drop the past, the future also disappears, because the future is nothing more than a projection of your past experiences. Once both are gone, you are left in the here and now. This is the only way to truly exist. To live in this way, we must sober up. Most of our lives are spent in a state of collective hypnosis created by society. We are driven by the pursuit of money, power, and fame. Yet all these are merely games of the ego. At the moment of death, even the greatest emperor dies like a beggar if they have not found their inner center. This is why I often share the story of the Zen master who would call out his own name every morning and answer himself. He was reminding himself to stay awake and not be cheated by the world or by his own mind. He was practicing the art of staying conscious in every action.
Society wants you to be an efficient machine. It does not care about your awareness. From the time you are a child, your roots are often cut away from your heart and redirected toward your head. You are taught to be cautious and to follow logic, which can kill the possibility of spontaneous living. Meditation is the process of becoming human again and stepping away from being a machine. It may make you feel less efficient at first because you are no longer operating on autopilot, but eventually you will learn to be both effective and fully aware. You must also remember not to be cheated by others. The world is like a marketplace where everyone is trying to sell you something, including peace and bliss. But meditation cannot be bought or given to you by someone else. It is a maturity that must grow from within through your own awareness. Whenever you feel yourself falling into a mental sleep during the day, call your own name, respond to yourself, and stay alert. In that alertness, your thoughts will stop and your mind will disappear for a moment. When the mind is absent, meditation is present. This continuous awareness eventually leads to the flowering of compassion. I recall the story of a young man who was forced into a chess match where his life was the stake. In that moment of extreme urgency, his mind stopped entirely. He became totally absorbed in the present moment because there was no room for anything else. As his mind became still, he looked at his opponent and felt a deep, overwhelming compassion. He decided to lose the game on purpose to save the other man. That is the moment where meditation and compassion meet. When you are rooted in meditation, you naturally grow the wings of compassion. Meditation is the earth, and compassion is the sky. When they meet, a new consciousness is born. Live intensely in this moment, for there is no other reality. Sober up and realize that the truth you are seeking is already within you, waiting to be lived.
Part 3. Love, the bridge to the divine. The highest state of love is not a relationship at all. It is simply a state of your being. Just as a tree is green or a flower is fragrant, love is my way of existing. A tree does not turn green for someone special, and a flower does not wait for a poet to pass by before it releases its scent. It happens naturally, whether anyone is there to witness it or not. This is how true love functions. It is a quality that radiates from within you, an internal climate that does not depend on an object. When you reach this state, you are no longer just in love. You are love itself. I see love as the only real miracle in existence. It is the ladder that leads from the depths of misery to the heights of heaven. If you miss love, you miss the very essence of life. People often ask me about the divine, but their questions usually reveal that they have not yet known love. If you knew love, you would already know the beloved. Love is a deep insight into the divine. To ask about the light is to admit that one is still blind. To ask about God is to admit that the heart has not yet blossomed. God is not a problem to be solved or a person to be found in a distant place. The divine is here and now, permeating everything that exists. You only need to learn how to open the eyes of love to see it. This love acts as a real alchemy. It transforms the base metal of our material existence into the gold of the sacred. Without love, life becomes dull, gray, and heavy. We merely drag ourselves through the days, hoping for nothing more than the relief of death. But love brings color. It turns the gray into a rainbow and makes the mundane feel ecstatic. It changes the entire atmosphere of your inner being, and when your inner climate changes, the whole of existence is transformed. Nothing changes on the outside, yet everything is different because you are now seeing through the eyes of love. To understand love, we must recognize it as a magnetic force, a great energy. When you fall in love, it is not something you do through effort. You are pulled into it. It is an attraction so strong that you feel almost helpless against it. This is why we call it falling. In that moment, your old self begins to slip away. You are stirred by something much larger than yourself. This experience is mysterious because it can turn a violent person into someone kind and a cold person into someone compassionate. It weightlessens your soul and gives you wings to fly toward the beyond. I often speak of the 3 L's: life, love, and light. Life is already given to you. You are already breathing. Light is also present, but you must build a bridge between your life and that light. That bridge is love. Most people are stuck in their heads, cut off from the universe because they have been trained to rely only on logic and intellect. Logic is a tool for manipulation and control, but love is an uncontrolled happening. Logic gives you the feeling that you are someone important, while love gives you the beautiful realization that you are no one. To reach this state, you must first learn to live in the here and now. You cannot love in the past or in the future. Love is only possible in the present moment. The mind is always wandering, obsessed with what has been or what will be, and this destroys your capacity to feel. If your energy is lost in the patterns of thought, you will not have enough energy left for the heart. You must also learn the secret of transforming your poisons into sweetness. Many people claim to love, yet their love is poisoned by jealousy, anger, and possessiveness. True love is a delicate thing. To protect it, you must have the patience to sit with your negative emotions without acting on them. If you can wait, if you can simply observe your anger or your sadness, you will see it eventually turn into compassion. This is a fundamental law of life. Everything is constantly changing into its opposite. Sharing is the 3rd step toward this divine love. People usually share their miseries and keep their joys to themselves. I suggest the opposite. Keep your negativity to yourself and share only your positivity. Share your joy, your song, and your silence. The more you give, the more you will find rising from your own core. It is like a well. The more water you draw out, the more fresh water flows in. Hoarding poisons the heart, but sharing keeps your energy fresh and flowing. Finally, you must learn to be a nothingness. Love flows only when you are empty of ego. Love and the ego cannot coexist. There is a deep longing in every human heart for the eternal, but we often mistake this for a desire for permanence. Permanence is part of time. It is just a long duration, but the eternal is outside of time altogether. Human love often fails because it is born of the mind and remains horizontal, trapped in the dimension of time. It begins at a certain point and must therefore end at another. The more intelligent you are, the sooner you will realize that this kind of love cannot satisfy the ultimate hunger of your soul. This failure is actually a blessing in disguise. It pushes you to look deeper, beyond the physical body and the psychological mind. When human love fails, it invites you to enter a new pilgrimage toward the vertical dimension. This is the dimension of meditation. Love is the fragrance of meditation. Just as a flower must first exist before its scent can fill the air, you must first find your own inner silence before love can truly blossom. This meditative love is unconditional and does not need an object. It is a quality that surrounds you like light around a flame. When you reach this, you are in love with the whole of existence. You are no longer separate. The ego, which acted as a barrier, has dissolved, and you find yourself at home in the universe. This is the ultimate union, where the seeker becomes the sought, and the note becomes the song. Part 4. Laughter and the Return to Innocence. Life should be taken humorously. It is so full of laughter and fun that as long as your life force has not completely dried up, you simply cannot remain serious. I have looked at existence in every possible way, and it always reveals itself as something funny. It is a wonderful gift from the beyond, yet seriousness has become a kind of disease in our world. Only the cemetery is truly serious, because death is serious. But life is love, laughter, dance, and song. Society wants you to be serious because serious people are easy to control and can be made ambitious. Parents, teachers, and leaders all demand seriousness because it is equated with respect, while laughter is seen as dangerous and rebellious. We have been conditioned to be laughter blind, much like George Bernard Shaw, who did not realize he was colorblind until he was 60 years old. He lived most of his life unable to distinguish between yellow and green, and many people live their entire lives unable to see the humor that surrounds them at every step. If you can free your laughter from its chains, you will find that you are not as miserable as you think. It is the combination of misery and seriousness that makes life unbearable. Even in conflict, humor can be found. I remember a couple who never fought because they made a deal. If the wife threw something and missed, the husband laughed, and if she hit him, she laughed. They replaced violence with a different kind of arrangement. Laughter is a great medicine that can release all your tensions and anxieties. When we speak of humor, we must also understand the intention behind it. The mystic Atisha once said we should not play mean jokes, but this is often misunderstood as being against humor itself. Atisha was not against laughter, he was against the hidden violence and aggression that people often disguise as a joke. When someone gossips or makes fun of another person with the intent to hurt them, that is not true humor. Sigmund Freud noted that many jokes are actually a way for people to express their suppressed anger. If your intent is to insult or harm, then your smile becomes a sin. However, if your humor is pure and comes from a place of wanting to create joy, then it is a great virtue. There is nothing more valuable than laughter because it brings you closest to a state of prayer. When you have a deep, total belly laugh, your whole being, physical, psychological, and spiritual, vibrates in harmony. Laughter grounds you and brings you back to reality as it is, stripping away foolish ideas of being holier than others. This world is ultimately a play of God, a cosmic joke, and until you understand it as such, the ultimate mystery will remain hidden from you. I support jokes and I support laughter because they are the most human qualities we possess. To truly laugh and find joy, you must become like a child again. Playfulness is one of the most suppressed parts of the human experience. Society is afraid of people who are not serious because they cannot be easily dominated. They won't be driven by the desire for power, money, or fame. They would rather simply enjoy existence. The child within you never dies. It remains there until your very last breath, but it is often buried under layers of conditioning. We are taught to be obedient, and in that obedience, our natural playfulness is killed. An obedient child is praised because they are easy to control, but they are spiritually dead. A playful child is often condemned because their spirit is rebellious and free. If a child is allowed to grow up with full freedom to play, they will become a rebellious adult who cannot be made into a slave or a soldier. We must stop carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders like a heavy cross. I once went for a walk at 3 o'clock in the morning and decided to run backward just for the fun of it. A milkman who saw me in the shadows thought I was a ghost and ran away in terror, clanking his milk cans. We are so afraid of losing control because we have been taught that we must always be disciplined. Yet the most beautiful things in life happen when we move from the head to the heart. When we live in the heart, we can sing and dance regardless of our circumstances. A serious person dies long before their physical death because they have already become a corpse. I agree with Confucius, who told his disciples to leave thoughts of death for the grave and focus on living intensely right now. My vision of a true religious person is not a stone statue, but a dancing Buddha. In Japan, they have a famous series of 10 paintings about an ox herder. The 10th painting, which is often omitted by those who are too traditional, shows the enlightened man returning to the marketplace with a bottle of wine. This is the most important part of the journey. After finding the truth, you must become an ordinary, joyful person again. You come back to the marketplace to celebrate and share your joy. Do not stop at being quiet. Take the final step. Get drunk on the divine and dance like a madman with total joy.
Part 5. Beyond the mind through humor. I tell you that humor is not just a function of the mind, though most people experience it that way. In the ordinary world, laughter often comes from a misunderstanding or a sudden, unexpected twist in a story. This kind of laughter is a release of mental tension. But there is a much deeper laughter that arises only when you step outside the boundaries of the mind entirely. These different types of humor vary greatly in quality. A small child laughs when you tickle their belly because of a physical sensation, and that laughter is pure and simple. The mind laughs when it sees something ridiculous in another person. But the laughter of no mind is something else entirely. It is the laughter that comes when you finally see the absurdity of your own search for truth. Consider the story of Bodhidharma. When he reached enlightenment and entered the world of no mind, he began to laugh and never stopped until the day he died. People were confused and asked him why he was laughing so much. He told them he was laughing at the fact that he had spent so many lifetimes searching for something that was already inside him. He realized that the seeker is the sought, and that the goal is the person who is trying to reach it. He was laughing at the ridiculousness of the whole spiritual journey, at how he had climbed the highest mountains and lived in caves while the truth was sitting right there in his own heart all along. When you finally step out of your mind, you realize that you have been looking for your own head while it was already on your shoulders. There was once a very wealthy American seeker who spent years traveling the world to find the meaning of life. He was told about an ancient, wise man living in the remote heights of the Himalayas. The journey was grueling, and by the time he reached the master, his clothes were in rags and he was crawling on his hands and knees. He begged the old man to give him wisdom and peace. The master looked at him and asked if he had any American cigarettes. The seeker was shocked because he expected a holy man to be beyond such things, but he gave the master his last few cigarettes. The master smoked them happily and then told the man to go home, rest, and return only when he could bring a box of Havana cigars. At first, the man was disappointed, but as he traveled back, he realized the master was telling him to relax and go back to his own interior. He understood that the walls of the house are not the home, and the walls of the body and mind are not the self. He began to see the humor in his own struggle.
To truly transform, you must learn to laugh at yourself. Most people spend their lives laughing at others, which is an act of the ego. But laughing at your own seriousness is an act of great humility. If you can wake up in the morning and laugh at your own ego, seriousness will find no place to hide inside you. In Zen monasteries, the monks understand this well. The first thing they do upon waking is to stand up and laugh like clowns at their own existence. There is no better way to start a day. When you laugh at yourself, you become transparent and light. You enter the world without the heavy weight of the ego, and the laughter of others can no longer disturb you because they are only joining in your own celebration. The world has become far too serious, and this seriousness is a disease of the soul. It creates tension, anxiety, and conflict. Throughout history, kings were wise enough to keep a jester in their courts. The jester was a necessary balance because too much wisdom can become foolish and too much power can lead to madness. The jester was there to bring everyone back to earth and to make sure that the wise did not become too serious about their own knowledge. Wisdom and foolishness should meet within you. Only then do you reach a state of transcendence. Great figures like Lao Tzu or Jesus understood this. They were not afraid to look like fools in the eyes of the world because they were living in a state of joy that the serious mind cannot comprehend. My life and my work have always been dedicated to this kind of transformation. I am not interested in teaching you a new philosophy or a set of rules to follow. Modern humanity is already burdened by the dead traditions of the past and the anxieties of what is to come. I have developed my techniques to help you go through a deep cleansing, to throw off these weights so you can discover the silent space of meditation. My message is not a theory, it is a kind of alchemy, a science of transformation. It is meant for those who are brave enough to die to their current self so they can be reborn into something they cannot yet imagine. Listening to this is the first step toward that rebirth. It is not a doctrine to comfort you or a philosophy to brag about. It is an invitation to move from the head to the heart. When the head is the master, the heart is forgotten and life becomes mechanical. But when you live in the heart, life becomes a song, a dance, and a celebration. The international commune I have created is an oasis where life is lived with purpose and awareness. It is a place where the East and West meet, not to look back at the past, but to look toward a future of total human freedom. Do not wait for the grave to be serious. Live fully right now. Laugh with your whole body and let your love become the bridge that carries you to the divine. If you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button so that more people can know about it. Thank you for your support. Wishing you a pleasant evening and happiness with your family. Goodbye and see you in the next videos.